mine? Okay, here.
You're fine.
Because I don't really need to be seen. Okay, and you
Fred,
are,
Fred Schneider, born 118 North Grand Street, June 13th, 1930.
okay, so you've lived here all your life in Palmyra.
That's correct.
And you came from a family that was somewhat prominent in Palmyra in the 30s and 40s?
Well, maybe that's what people say. I never thought of it as such.
Okay. Well, what did your father do?
Well, first of all, my grandfather emanated from Frostburg, Maryland, and my grandmother, this is on the Schneider side, was from Reading. My grandfather worked for shoe companies as a salesman or a machine salesman, but anyway, he ended up in Palmyra and ended up in the printing business over in the Griner building or Valley Trust building in the basement.
Okay.
And they did a lot of sales, like not catalog sales, but something like that. It's in the history that Spittler wrote, you know me. And then from what I understand, that they went from the basement to the back of the building. Do you remember when there was, when Weldon Manning had his barber shop back there?
What would that have been? What years would that have been?
Oh God, I don't know, after I got out of the service,
And you were in the service, what, in the
50,
40s?
55.
Oh, well, then I should have known, but I don't remember.
All right, you know the Valley Trust building, the parking lot?
Right,
At the end of the parking lot, between there and the alley,
okay.
there was this two-story building.
Okay, I do remember a building there, you're right.
And at some point, Bundles was in there, Manning was in the back. Anyhow, I understand they were in there. And then about 18, 19, 20 or something like that, they bought and moved down to the business on East Front Street.
East Front, jeez. We're down
That
toward the
old-
railroad.
Between Railroad and Chestnut,
Okay.
that big three-story building that's rotting to old whatever now. Anyhow, that had been A.S. Crider Shoe Factory.
Okay, and A.S. Carter was like the first shoe factory in Palmyra, I think?
No, W.O. Crider was in there. And then W.O. Crider moved over to Harrison and Arch. And I think the first 5 years they had to make Hoser or something. They had a deal where they sold that building to A.S. Crider, and they couldn't make shoes, and then they started making shoes. So then A.S. Crider, in that period of 19, 20 or 21 or whatever, built that brick building right south of Front Street,
Okay.
because they figured that that was a fire hazard. And the story I got is that before they even opened up, they had a fire in their new building.
Oh my goodness, in the fireproof building?
Not bad, but they had a fire. So anyway, then we were down there from 1921 or something like that. My father, I guess he had finished college by then. I guess he got through in a couple of years or so. And then we had that business until 1980. My dad had died the holidays in 1962 in a fire, and I managed it, and we had the business until 1980 at which time we sold it.
To another printer, or you just sold it?
Well, we sold it to Howie Naylor, who was from Hershey, and he had it, and I worked there until '86. And I don't know if it was 90, early 90 or something like that when the business went down, and he just closed shop and sold the building to Curtis Female.
And that whole time, from the time your grandfather started it, you said they had done like catalogs and things like that. Did you branch out?
That was over at the Griner
Valley,
building, yeah.
right. Did you branch out?
Well,
then
we
into-
had printing and we had box manufacturing.
Oh, okay. out as well. Um, well, I'll say it because we can cut it out then. What made me think of it was we just took a field trip in Maryland at my son's house to a can company, which I found was very interesting. And I would have thought that the box manufacturing was similar, that people didn't understand how much goes into that. Did you print on the sides of the boxes too?
Well, you would print on the wraps and then you would wrap the boxes. This was back at the time when you basically had all setup boxes, which were boxes that were dyed out or cut out, and then you would have a machine that you put them on and really put tape on them on the four corners to hold them together. And then they had ending machines which ended the ends. And then finally your folding boxes, which Mara's box company came into, they took over, and the setup boxes really just dissipated out of it.
When you say setup, what do you mean? That they wouldn't fold?
No. You remember the old shoe boxes
Okay, yes.
that didn't fold down?
Yes.
That was a setup box or an
Okay.
ended box, either one.
And did you produce a lot of shoe boxes because of all the shoe industry in
Yeah,
Elmira?
and garment boxes for the garment factories.
Okay. Do you have any idea, and this is gonna sound like a wild question, but do you have any idea why so many shoe factories came to Elmira?
Well, I would imagine it was because the help was available. They were good workers.
People have asked me that, and I have no idea, because we had so many.
I mean, but then, see, you had, in Annville, you had one or two. You had them in Lebanon, you had them in Maytown, you had them in Elizabethtown. It's just
Is it that once type of industry starts, it attracts others, or?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. It's a good question. It's just like they have quite a few garment factories or knitting mills around too. Which,
Right,
you know,
exactly. And all that's gone. I mean, when you talked about,
unfortunately, they talk about getting the business started again. All the businesses overseas.
in our lifetime, we said, like in
They
the
don't, we
early,
don't make or manufacture a doggone thing.
No.
These shoes are the only thing I can find. Now, granted, these are old, but the SAS down in San Antonio, it's the only shoe company that I've been able to find around it.
that they make in the United States, the only shoes.
And clothing. So anyway, why they came, I don't know.
But we should be proud of our heritage in
Oh,
terms of that,
absolutely.
because,
Yes.
in our lifetime, we've seen it come and then go. So that, and even the boxes, the boxes are different today than when your
That's
company
right,
was
that's
making
right.
them. Totally different. We go to all these bags, you know what I mean? When you talked about dress boxes, they don't, stingy with dress
Individual
boxes.
shirt boxes, tie
Right.
boxes.
right. They're hard to
And,
find.
I know we used to one time make boxes for ferries around the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
for gift boxes.
I remember those, so now that you say that, a lot of people who we've talked with through the year in terms of the 250th anniversary have fond memories of, this main street and what was in you talked about the Grinder building, where all the different businesses in there, and ferries comes up all the time, ferries and Lee's and Lurches.
Of course, Lee's was over at the corner.
Right, the other
Well,
corner.
they were in the Yaffe building.
Okay, yes, that's a name that came
And
up.
Lurch's was up,
So this side, I think.
yeah, well, wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's up right up here somewhere.
Right, I
It
wouldn't
was
be,
on this side of the dog place, wasn't it, or was it the other
I
side?
think it was the other side.
The other side, yeah.
Or the dog place were right around that
Yeah,
same place.
the other
And
side.
McGee's was in there,
Huh?
remember McGee's?
Yeah, well, my dad had that drugstore before McGee's.
Oh, really? Oh, tell us that story, I didn't realize that.
It was during the war, I know that because I used to help out there, and cigarettes were hard to come by. Cigarettes would come in every Thursday, I think Thursday afternoon. And by Thursday night or Friday morning, all they had left were wings and God knows what else. But I saw that some of my friends always got to what they wanted. And I would have only been 13, 14,
Young, right.
15 at the time.
Right. So why
But he
did,
had it and then he sold it to McGee's.
why did he decide to go into the drugstore? Did he have a pharmacist there or just,
Yes, he did.
Oh. really?
I forget, Doc somebody, he lived back on Cherry Street. Oh yeah, he had a pharmacy.
That's
Why he
interesting.
went into it, you'd have to ask him.
He was
I have
still in
no
the,
idea.
in the
Oh,
box
gosh,
and
yes,
print
gosh,
business.
yes.
Well, maybe he was an entrepreneur.
Well, he had the bowling alley too.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, tell us about that. That was on the other side of the, what would have been, what, near Seltzer's?
Well,
Theater
yeah,
people?
the other side, the restaurant was in front and then the bowling alley went back.
Did you help to work there when you were younger too?
I did set up pins a little bit.
So you got a good start. You always had to work. From a
Well, I
young
don't
age.
know, I don't know that I was working for him. Vic Bayshore was running it and I know that I set up a couple times.
Okay. All right. What, you went to Palmyra High School?
Yes,
Okay. What year did you graduate?
the same as your Uncle Bob, 1948.
Okay, 48. Mrs. Whitmer told us she was 49. Okay.
Huh?
Mrs. Whitmer told us she was in 49.
Yeah, she
Okay.
was, she looks younger, I guess.
And did you get into trouble with him as well?
With who?
With my Uncle Bob? I understand that was
I
quite a
have,
class.
there was a few things of which I got blamed that he was the instigator.
We'll take it off the tape so we don't incriminate him. But I do.
I could tell you stories about him, but, you know, and then even your family, you know, I mean, I got into your old homestead over here at different times through my brother and Sam and that.
Right. She
So,
talked of him fondly. I know. I remember the name. I remember the reunions when your brother came home
yeah,
for the
That's right.
reunions. That was very special to my father. Let him know that. It was very special to him.
well, I'll tell his wife, he doesn't communicate too well at times. He has Parkinson's.
Aw, shame.
So,
Were there just two of you then, in your family?
well, and then the younger brother, Clark, he's down in Wilson, North Carolina. Actually, he gave us much or more information to Donna Spittler about some of the work she was doing than I did. That he got through the computer or that he knew of or whatever.
Mhm.
And so he had a younger brother in North Carolina.
What changes did you see in your lifetime in Palmyra? I mean, you were born here, you were here your whole life, you went through the school system, you worked for some of your father's businesses. What changes did you see that took place in your lifetime?
Well, as we all know, people aren't like they used to be. I think the one thing, or one of the things is, you know, you knew everybody. And the one reason you knew everybody is because you shopped, you lived, you worked in town, or you spent time in town. But you sat in the front porch.
It's true.
And so if you took a walk, you'd talk to everybody, you'd know everybody, not necessarily on the street where you lived. Today, I know some of the people on our street, but I don't really know them. I know their name or know them, but they tend to sit in the backyard or have these backyard extravaganzas. So, I mean, it's a different culture, but I mean, when people always sat in the front porch.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
knew
for
'em.
sharing. Yes, exactly. You're exactly right. And people did walk around, or else they were out cleaning their front porch and talking to the people on the next front porch and so forth. Absolutely.
That's all, that's one of the things that I really notice, and, today you know, how many people you know is very limited, and they just don't have the, in any of the towns, you don't have the, even the cities, you don't have the closeness you used to have.
Mhm, mhm. Now, we had a lot, I remember from the time I was as young as I can remember, would have been the fifties, early fifties, and we had a lot of small businesses. And then I know my father wrote a little history of the milk business and talked about the fact that when the small grocery stores went into the big AMPs and the Weisses and the Giants and so forth, that changed the milk delivery
That's
industry.
right.
Changed a lot of things, you know, from those small mom and pop stores
That's right.
and there again, you're going into a grocery store where you may not know the people. And you don't get that contact.
No, there was a lot of nice stores, and you'd have the milk delivered every morning or every other morning. Bread truck would come around every other morning or something as such.
Mr. Baldwin would bring his meats and his meat truck.
That's true, and Brant's would bring their vegetable truck and or fish truck. And old Mr. Funk from out towards Belgrove would come in with his horse and buggy and deliver sell fresh vegetables during the summer.
That's right, I remember that now that you say that.
And, it was a whole different life.
Mhm.
It was nice.
That's what we're trying to, we're trying to capture that in this DVD so that we have that to share with the people that never knew that.
But, as you say, your small stores, your gas stations with the mechanics, I mean, you went there, they took care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, anymore you don't have gas stations where they pump gas, but there are no independent gas stations in town anymore since Rambler shut down.
Now, where was Rambler?
He's down, is that Frank? Penn Street in Maine. Catty corner across from Lisa's.
Oh, okay, okay,
No, it's just
That's
a
right.
repair,
right, okay, I know exactly.
but he pumped gas up until a point where he was sort of forced out of it. But anyhow, you had all the, as you say, the small outfits, and you relied on them, Gruber and Fosnap, any seltzer up on Railroad Street,
Mm-hmm, exactly.
and your, as you say, Lurches and Lee's, Lock Brothers,
Those were the days.
anything and everything.
Right, exactly, you could get it right here within a couple blocks.
And up at the corner, now you were too young, up at the corner of Grant and Maine there, that was, but that was an inn, or you could take a room there, which you
Right,
can now.
right.
But they served meals,
Okay, I think I do vaguely remember that,
and,
yes.
the name
Like a
almost
rooming
came
house.
to me, yeah.
Yeah, yes, I do.
But I know my wife said that she lived in London, and they used to come up in a trolley every once in a while on a Sunday and eat there.
Oh, okay.
What the heck was the name of that?
I know exactly where you
I'm having
mean.
a sophomore moment,
No, that's, yeah, that's right.
but,
Well-
then you had the Central Restaurant,
Now, where was the Central Restaurant?
up here where, Pastimes is. Right at the square, Jakey Harris' old place.
Oh, okay. And
That
what-
was the
that
Central
the
Restaurant.
Central Restaurant, okay.
Right,
No, I
right.
never heard that the term.
Oh yeah,
Central
that was big, back before, during, and right after the war. I know in high school, when we got old enough, or we come in after we got out of high school and play the jukebox and drink 7-Up or whatever.
Did you ever hear of a Fetros, F-E-T-R-O?
What?
Fetros, F-E-T-R-O-W apostrophe S, Fetros.
Where at?
I don't know where it is, that's what I mean. I have it on video from 1939.
Yeah, but I can't tell you where it is or whatever. That would have been,
Is it out in the outskirts someplace that
no,
was?
I think it would have been inside somewhere. I don't know, that might have even been before or after the center, but I remember the name Fetcho's, yeah.
It looks like a log cabin type place.
Well,
But
but I know the name, I know.
Okay.
Do you know that I vaguely, now, your aunt would remember because she's so many years older than I am.
She is.
I vaguely remember 4 reunions. I vaguely remember the one from 35,
Okay.
because they had a big to-do, you know where the craft building is?
Yes.
Well, that used to be the ball field.
Where the craft building is?
Yes.
Okay.
And Broad Street stopped at that point,
Okay.
and there was no houses south of that, so they, in that field, it seems to me they had some of the events.
Oh, for the
Shipments.
1935
Yeah.
reunion. So that's interesting, you've been here for 4 of them. That's all she's been here, because she wasn't born in 1910.
Well, your aunt might have been here for 5 of them, I don't know.
No, she wasn't here in 1910.
Well, she could have been.
Well, listen, thank you. It's been wonderful to get to meet you. Like I said, I've heard of your family, and many people mentioned the tragedy of your father. I didn't know when it happened, but and Mrs. Mauer used to live in the house, in the apartment
Yeah,
he lived in.
yeah,
She's going to
yeah.
come and talk to us tomorrow.
Yeah, I
night.
still see her occasionally. When I was working at Wise, I saw her more, but I do see her and her husband occasionally.
Well, I learned to meet her through this, and she mentioned that they had lived there and enjoyed living there, and then their life was